Hey guys, welcome to Brickstars. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the biggest LEGO sets from the 2000s. This was a decade that featured a lot of different themes, some interesting stuff, but we've labeled it the decade of Star Wars, and you'll see why pretty soon. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the biggest sets in those years. We've done videos from the 90s and the 80s already. If you do enjoy this type of content, please hit the subscribe button. And let's get right into it. So a couple rules. We're looking at 2000 to 2009. We want these sets to include minifigures, and we're really focused on that system style, which means we're not looking at the Technic or the educational sets or kind of some promotional sets. Really just your regular original LEGO style sets. So year 2000, we're starting it off with the XWing Fighter. This set had 1,300 parts, only one minifigure. It retailed for about $150, and in new condition now it's about $460. So interesting looking set. Obviously this was kind of the start of licensed themes for LEGO, and what an iconic set to introduce Star Wars with. So beautiful display piece. Even for its age, we think it looks pretty good. You can see it included the one minifigure R2-D2 here. Arguably, maybe not a minifigure, but we've included this set as the largest for this year. And you can see even the angles that they were creating at that time, and with the pieces that they had, obviously when compared to sets today, much simpler, but they were able to add a lot of color and detail and different parts to really make this look pretty realistic, and I think it would stand the test of time for sure. So what's interesting is they were actually doing alternate builds as well, even for licensed sets back then. So you can see here is kind of a interesting version of the X-Wing Fighter, and you know, some other recolored versions and all sorts of things. But you can see LEGO's done a lot of this X-Wing Fighter over the years, and some look better, some look worse, some are simpler. You can see this one has Yoda as well. The more modern ones I think look great. They've obviously got a wide variety of parts, and then the most recent one is this one that's also part of a collector series, but you can see the difference 20 years makes. I think this set is fairly recent, so obviously some newer parts and building techniques, but nonetheless I think the original holds up pretty well. And that was for the biggest set in 2000. Some honorable mentions: there's the TIE Interceptor. We love this old Adventures dino set. Obviously the dinosaurs look a lot plainer than they do today, but really cool concept, really cool build. I remember as a kid just loving this set. Tons of play features. And then of course you can't go wrong with Castle. This is when they use the large base plates, but you get some horse barding and the different cloth pieces and this interesting stained glass piece. So pretty cool set here as well. Next up, 2001, we've got the Metro Liner. This set featured 782 parts, 11 minifigures. It retailed for about $150 US, and it's a crazy $1,200 now. Reissued though from 1991, so we were kind of on the fence of including this one. You'll see later on we kind of changed our minds and we're excluding reissued sets, but this one stayed on. I did love the box art and the instruction manuals. This cave kind of they're coming out of, glowing on the other end, but pretty neat set. Obviously a bit simpler than we'd like, especially when it comes to the minifigures. I mean, for 1991, I get it. As a reissue, it would have been nice if they had at least updated some of the minifigures, but it's a simpler train set, I would say, like obviously compared to the train sets now, but even back then I think they had some cooler trains that they could have done. But I think this one is pretty popular in the LEGO train community. And for honorable mentions, I think these sets are a lot more my style. This Life on Mars set was really cool. It had this like pump that you could punch down on, and it would shoot these aliens out from here. So really creative theme. It's an Lego in-house theme, so it's not licensed. I think they did a neat job with this. It was maybe a bit ahead of its time. It had some weird looking minifigures and stuff, but pretty cool theme. The Pirates, obviously classic. And speaking of licensed themes, Star Wars dominated. Harry Potter was another big one. What's interesting here is you'll note the minifigures feature the yellow color instead of flesh tones. So that was before they made that change. So this was a really cool Hogwarts castle set. 2002 would have been the Black Seas Barracuda. This was 906 parts, 8 minifigures. Of course, this one was a reissue as well. You can see the staggering price growth on this one. Obviously, in new condition, the sales and everything keeps it expensive. But we decided that because it's a reissue, we're not going to consider it go forward. So 7163, the Republic gunship, just under 700 parts, 90 USD, and 1500 now on the new market. It's a good looking set, and honestly, we're not Star Wars fans, so we don't know a lot of the Star Wars stuff, but we do know when we see a good set, and this one looks great. Again, 2002, but they did a great job matching the shape of this. I love the pops of color, especially back then, to have this dark red and this kind of lime green, pretty rare colors, and just really nice size and build. I like the scale of this one more than some of the other ones that have been released since. You could fit a couple minifigures in. It had some of the troopers, some of these weird minifigures, but I do like, again, when they had the yellow minifigures for the license themes as well. And you can see the newest one, obviously huge. The curves are a bit better and more realistic, but I find the scale of this one to be so large. You know, as a play set for kids, it's obviously not. This is more of an adult display piece. And again, they've got the dark red, the lime green, but I think the original did a great job of capturing the spirit of the Republic gunship. Some honorable mentions, one of our favorites, Fort Ligorito. I believe this is a reissue though, but nonetheless, it would have been great to see on the shelves. And some more Harry Potter stuff. And this one we found pretty interesting. The studios lineup, this was kind of your crazy scientist Frankenstein theme, but there was a lot of neat sets from this wave. We didn't have this one, but we had a couple of the other ones. And the whole idea was that you almost made your own Lego movies and things like that. So it was kind of a movie set type theme. But really cool concept. Kind of the predecessor to the Monster Fighters lineup, if you're familiar with that. 2003, no surprise, another Star Wars set. This time we've got 4483, the AT-AT. Just over 1,000 parts, 4 minifigures, about $100 US, and that's a typo there. It's more than 55 US now, but we've got the build here. You can see, interesting with a lot of the blocky parts, that they were able to kind of give it these curves and shape. And again, for its age, I think they did a great job. Lots of interesting building techniques here, and you get some pretty cool minifigures. Luke Skywalker, a couple stone troopers, and then you get a driver as well that features an interesting print. I actually like the honorable mentions a bit more myself. The Orient Expedition, this was the final wave of the Adventurers lineup, and it looked great. It was a really cool set. It had this cool dragon with the gold details. Another Star Wars set that's gone crazy with prices because a lot of the minifigures are super rare. The Cloud City set, over $2,000 to get it today. And I really like this World City from their regular city lineup. I thought this train was really cool. I like kind of the blocky industrial nature of it, and the colors are pretty cool as well. 2004, we've got the Y-Wing Starfighter, 1,400 parts, almost 1,500. Only one minifigure, 120 US retail, and it's about $750 now. Great looking details. In hindsight, making this video, maybe we shouldn't have considered R2-D2 a minifigure, because a lot of the other Star Wars sets that were bigger in some other years were really kind of collector style models, not sets per se, and did not have minifigures. So maybe Lego didn't consider R2-D2 a minifigure at that time. It was more of a part of the equipment, if you will. But you can see some of the building techniques here. Lots of these bars, lots of clip pieces. Probably would be a little painful to build, but really detailed. It looks really strong. I think this is one that would be great to have in a Star Wars collection. And what was interesting is the Spider-Man lineup back then actually had a special issue, or maybe this was a promotion thing where they combined all the Spider-Man sets from that year. Oddly enough, that one was smaller in piece count than this. Not that we would have included it anyway, but just goes to show the size of this set and how many detailed parts it has. The Millennium Falcon that year also included a lot of parts and was probably more of a set than the Y-Wing Starfighter is. You got a couple more minifigures. So it's one of the honorable mentions that we have. And then some of the city lineup. I do like this airport here. Again, this one looks to be a reissue as well. I believe it originally came out in the early 90s. And another Harry Potter set. So Harry Potter and Star Wars really dominated this decade, and I think some of that is obviously Lego struggles during that time. I think they moved away from their own themes and maybe focused on the licensed themes a little too much. Although they have sold well, I think you need a diverse lineup. So 2005, the Sandcrawler, 1,600 parts, 11 minifigures, 140 USD. It's about $550 now. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they've released an updated version that's probably captivating people more than collecting the old one. But this set is top notch in our opinion. So again, 11 minifigures, lots of brown pieces. They did their best to kind of give it a little bit of rust and wear on the crawler. Some cool techniques used for the wheels. Lots of play features, lots of room to store minifigures, open the doors, move the crane, all sorts of stuff. So really, really top notch. Again, you see the minifigures, you get Owen Lars, R2D2, a bunch of these Jawas, and you know, arguably, are these guys minifigures, the brick built ones? Well, in our opinion, no, but they are considered as such here. So nonetheless, really, really good looking set and huge as well. So this would definitely be the centerpiece of any kid's collection at that time. You can see the new one, obviously much more detailed. I love how they worked in the angles here, updated the minifigures, but still true to the original. So I don't think the original is too bad, but obviously this one is a step above. Some honorable mentions. We've got the Vikings lineup. These sets are really cool. You know, we love the detailed shield prints, the minifigures. The build style was a bit simpler. I think they kind of went a bit backwards, and I wasn't the biggest fan of using a lot of these kind of Technic parts throughout the theme. But I would love to see a rerun of a Vikings theme. I know we received the Viking Village a couple years back, but a full wave would be great. And then the Knights Kingdom set. So this is another one where you can see they're using some of those Technic elements. I don't think this was a very popular castle theme, at least in hindsight it isn't. I think a lot of the minifigures were a little weird with the way they were colored and stuff. I think people prefer the traditional gray metal armored and factions and, you know, the Lion Knights, the Black Falcons. But props to Lego for doing something different and kind of stepping away from those traditional themes. And they were probably pretty fun to play with, I guess. So not too bad. 2006, not Star Wars. We've got the Sente Fortress. This is part of the EXO Force lineup. I honestly don't even remember these sets from being a kid. Maybe they were issued in only a couple markets, but you can see 100 USD. It hasn't done great over time. I think it's a very niche market, honestly, so that probably explains why it hasn't done great. Some of these minifigures are a little weird, but if you're a fan of EXO Force and you know, kind of anime stuff, I could definitely see the appeal. The minifigures were definitely different than other minifigures that Lego was releasing. Some unique prints. The hair pieces, very comic book cartoon style. And the build was, I would say, interesting. It has, you know, some distinct areas. It's got some height. I think the mechs are pretty cool. And if you collected some of the other sets from this wave, you could probably get a pretty nice collection going with this, but not our style, so tough to comment a whole lot on that. I do think some of these other sets, again, the honorable mentions, the Batman set here, really cool, large build, lots of interesting parts, couple minifigures. The Holiday Train, obviously, a beautiful looking set. The rabbit is a little weird, but I think for any Christmas village, this is a must. And then Knight's Kingdom, this is definitely our style. I think this set looks pretty good. It's got the base plate. You get, again, the Bull Knights, the Royal Knights, Lion Knights. I didn't like that these were often sticker pieces, so the shield and the flag here were sticker pieces, but some cool building techniques. I do like the printed black walls. You got the classic Ghost minifigures, so this was still, I think, a really good set to get at the time. 2007, we're back to Star Wars. This is the Millennium Falcon. I think this might have been the biggest set at the time, and honestly one of the biggest even to date now. Over 5,000 parts, 5 minifigures, 500 USD at the time, and to get a sealed copy now is $1,800. Obviously, this set is huge, and I'm curious what the build would be like. I don't know if I would enjoy a build like this, but it does look like there's a lot of repetitive and symmetrical builds, but tons of detail. You get a feel for kind of the body of it, obviously using a lot of these Technic style parts for strength. And the interior is honestly non-existent, so I didn't realize that this is kind of all you get. The rest is almost just support structures to hold up the outside. I guess you get this cockpit here on this end, but for a display piece, it is pretty crazy, and you do get some interesting minifigures here, 5 of them, so you get kind of the main cast from Star Wars. And obviously there's the new Millennium Falcon that's still on shelves now, so we just did a quick look, you know, from an inflation standpoint. $500 back then would be about $760 now. This set goes for about $850. I think Lego had done a price increase on it. It was probably $100 cheaper prior to that inflationary price increase that they did. So pretty close in price. Of course, this one is a bit bigger. So, you know, I'm surprised if anyone would buy a used version unless they're an extreme collector. I think the new one is obviously much more detailed, and you get more minifigures as well. So some special mentions: the modular series with the cafe corner. This is an iconic set, one set I really wish we did have, but it's crazy on the secondary market. Some specialty parts in that one. Castle lineup, another one we wish we had. This was, I think, a great wave of castle sets. They brought back the factions. They kind of went back to their roots. They had good guys, bad guys, a little bit of fantasy with the skeletons and the dragons, but really, really great wave of castle stuff. And we keep going with Harry Potter. So even to this day, Harry Potter continues to build great sets. And I think I do really like this modular style that you can combine it with other sets and expand on your Hogwarts castle. 2008, the Death Star. Star Wars again. Like we said, this is the decade of Star Wars. So if you were a Star Wars fan and you had money to spend $400 on sets, this would have been, you know, probably one of the main ones to get. I think they're coming out with the updated collector series one this year, so interested to see how that one's going to look. But just under 4,000 parts. This one had 24 minifigures. Again, not being a Star Wars fan, I did always appreciate this set. And remember, as a kid when it came out, this was one where it was like, holy, the amount of scenes that it has, the different elements it has. It was a cool looking set, and it definitely had that kind of prestigious luxury vibe to it, for sure. And you can see the different rooms and chambers that this has. The gray colored, the pops of black and blue, and obviously these translucent neon pieces as well. A really, really cool set. And of course, with 24 minifigures, you got a little bit of everything. Even not being a Star Wars fan, I always thought these red guys were pretty cool. I like the the dark version of CP3O here, if that is who it is. Apologies again if I'm mistaken. But again, you get a full cast of minifigures. Is this a minifigure? In our opinion, no, but they've got it listed there. So a couple bricks and some wheels, I guess, is a minifigure. Honorable mentions, one of our favorites, the Green Grocer. I would love to get a copy of this set, but realistically, I'd love to just order some parts from Pick-a-Brick and maybe make a slightly different colored version or close enough. Maybe mod some things because it had some specialty parts, but I think this looks great in any Lego city even today. And then they have a set from their Agents lineup. I think this was kind of their own almost spy theme. A really cool and fun playset, so nice to see in-house themes make an appearance. And finishing things off is not Star Wars. We've actually got 10196, the Grand Carousel, 3,263 parts, 9 minifigures. It was about 250 USD. Crazy resale price. I think this is a big collector set. Honestly, not our favorite for a couple reasons, but it had some interesting mechanics, and I could imagine when it's turning and spinning, it's pretty cool, but the minifigures are a little simple. I found the horse builds kind of creepy. You know, some of these details are nice, but I feel like it's such a repetitive build. Not something for us. Again, huge in size, and it's nice to see that a non-Star Wars theme kind of takes the biggest set as we finish off that decade. Also cool that they kind of brought back this Paradisa themed torso for the minifigures, so a little nod to some older sets. But those are the largest. Again, that's the largest set in 2009. You can see the minifigures, honestly, a little underwhelming in our opinion. Two of the guys have the same shirt, you know, some of the same face on the minifigures. I think they could have done a bit better with that. You can see the build on the inside. Again, I noted it a little bit repetitive. It would be cool to see the mechanics and how it works and how it spins, but not something I think I'd enjoy a whole lot. I'd prefer this, the Fire Brigade modular, great looking building. Even this Star Wars set, I think this is great. I love you get, you know, basically 2 sets in one, I would say, and some cool minifigures. And then maybe one of my favorite sets of all time, the Medieval Market Village. Obviously, this is the original. They have the medieval town this year. But what a beautiful set this was, especially at the time. You got some of the cow pieces. You've got some knights. Beautiful, beautiful buildings. And, you know, in hindsight, I do wish I got multiples of this set so that I could combine the buildings and not close them. So the way they work is if you close them, obviously they're enclosed, but then they're a bit smaller. So I've got it displayed kind of this way, where you've got them opened up. A little scene in the middle there, a food market, some cool minifigures. And this set has done great over time, and I think it's one of Lego's most iconic sets that they've released. So that's a wrap for the decade. A quick look at the biggest sets each year. Again, dominating Star Wars sets throughout, but some interesting sets like the train reissue, EXO Force, the Grand Carousel, and you saw with our honorable mentions, there was a lot of other great sets that appeared throughout this decade. So definitely, if you were a Star Wars fan, this was a great decade. So thank you guys for watching. Again, if you like this content, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.